like, I don't really have things at this point I just work with, right? I go like to it's really similar to next actually. So you start with components or mostly just different syntaxes from
Okay, sorry about the wait, guys. I think we're all ready to get started. So, good to meet all of you. I'm Drew. I was the CFC President back in 2020, and now I'm back again to teach you guys a little bit of Vue. Now, I'm not quite sure where all of you are at, so maybe hands up if you have tried coding Vue before. Cool, okay. And did you guys do like a to-do app or some kind of starter thing? Was that in Vue or was that just basic HTML, JavaScript? Yeah, cool. Okay, well, this is going to be a bit of a dual workshop. We're going to go through the super basics, just the main features you're going to need to use in order to get the most out of Vue. We'll also be looking at some basic code examples, maybe some more in-depth, larger projects, just to see how Vue looks at different levels, and then maybe if we have time, we'll get into some Q&A / frequently created features. So maybe some stuff you'll be running into when you are getting on with your project. So. Without further ado, I'm sorry I'm cramped in this corner. My cable is about 1/2 meter long, so I'll just be sitting here, but everything should be happening on there. Okay, first up, we're going to be covering some of these different concepts. You might have run into them before. A lot of front-end frameworks carry exactly the same features because they are covering the same use case. So you will run into the same concepts a lot. It's just they'll look a little bit different. So if you have used React or Angular or just worked on a in-depth JavaScript project, then you'll probably be familiar with some of these. Okay, so that guy is the creator of Vue. He's a little bit special. Most frameworks are created by large companies. This framework was an open source project created by Evan You. So it has a pretty die-hard community around it. Lots of support from the community, meaning that it doesn't cater so much towards Facebook, what Facebook wants from a framework. It's more what the people want. That's some political coding, but the main use of it is to create interactive web interfaces and single-page applications. So some of the benefits, small and performant, so it's a super easy to learn framework. I learned it as my first JavaScript framework, and it's very nice for some reasons that I'll go over shortly. And it also combines HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in components, kind of like React, except it does it in a slightly different way. And I've been working on a lot of Angular. It looks a lot like Angular, except I like it better. You'll see why. One of the main reasons I like it more than Angular is it focuses on single file components. So some frameworks split out components into you got your template, and then you got your JavaScript in a separate file, and you've got your module imports somewhere else. This one does all of that in a single file, so it's pretty nice to read, with the caveat that your single files are quite small. So you're going to want to be focusing on keeping your components small, and then it becomes much easier to read. So we've got 3 different things in each file. We've got some HTML, which is the template, what gets rendered to the page, and then you've got JavaScript logic. You can affect the template and keep things interactive, up to date, all that good stuff. And then you've also got a little bit of CSS sprinkle at the bottom if you want to. This is a special file type called .view, and you need Vue to actually interpret this file. You can write Vue in just JavaScript, but typically if you're working on a larger project, you'll have something like Webpack that is looking at all your files and grabbing the Vue ones and turning them into JavaScript itself. So you don't really have to worry about that at all. This is a really, really basic example of kind of what the base that you need. So we got three things, as I said before. Up here, you can think of this as the HTML. One in the middle, the script tag, this is your JavaScript, and then at the bottom you got your CSS. So for this example, you can ignore the template tags. They don't get rendered to the page at all. All you're doing is adding a paragraph tag with this message. You'll notice these two curly brackets. These are like template interpolation. So you're kind of telling Vue that whatever's inside of that isn't HTML, it's Vue, or JavaScript in this case. What this is doing is looking at your data. So you got some, inside of the script tag, all you're doing, you're exporting an object. So in this case, a default object, you're kind of offering something up to the Vue gods. And in this case, we're offering a data model. So we say, I want the message variable to be a reactive piece of data. Vue, you're going to keep track of all the changes to this data, and then you're going to keep those changes updated in the page where you're rendering this. And then we just got some fun CSS at the bottom to turn it to green. Okay, moving right along. Typically, you're not working in a single component because it would get very long very quickly. So you're going to want to split things out. The problem is if you are writing a component, sometimes you're going to need data from somewhere else. Like, for example, if you are making, I don't know, a list of contacts, and then each contact is its own component, you're going to want to pass in some data to say the name and like phone number, whatever. So in this case, we're passing in the name. We're telling Vue, you can accept this name or this property from whatever is using the component. So whatever gets passed into the component will be put onto the page in this name, and the same rules apply as data. So it will be kept up to date. Every time it changes, it will re-render. Easy peasy. You can have multiple props using an array. You can also do a little bit of validation. Not a whole lot, just kind of type checking. So just focus on the props thing in here. Don't worry about the other stuff. We haven't seen that before. But we're essentially accepting, instead of an array of props, we're accepting an object where the key is the name of the prop. So that's the way you pass it in. You might say first name equals like Drew, but we are saying please warn us if it's anything except for a string. This Vue.component, this is the way you write Vue components in JavaScript. So you won't really be using that. For us, our whole page gets turned into JavaScript. But if you wanted to say write a normal HTML page and then only have one element be Vue, then you could do that as well. But for us, we're just going to be writing the whole thing in Vue, so not such a consideration. Okay, so directives are another way we can do some spicy coding. So instead of we have we've looked at reactive data. So every time the data changes, the thing on the value of the text changes. That's pretty cool, but sometimes we need to go a bit farther. So we might want the element to, let's see, what is this one giving us? Okay, so we might want to pass in a attribute on top of an HTML tag. So for this, we want the URL to be dynamic. So every time that URL data changes, we want the A tag to change its href. So we're using this directive called vbind. Essentially, this is, I think of it kind of similar to the two curly brackets. So it's basically telling Vue that whatever is inside of this attribute is not text, it's actually JavaScript. You can do all kinds of stuff like that. Like you could write, a JavaScript string interpolation here and like have all your logic in that. But in this case, we're just passing in the variable URL. All right, next up we got, there's a lot of like Vue specific attributes that you can kind of use to do the same thing in a different way. So in this case, instead of using the two, so span vtext equals name, instead of using, curly bracket name, we're just using vtext. I'm not sure, there's probably a reason why you would do this. Moving on. Vif. So this one is your classic if statement. If this expression results to false or a falsy value, then the entire paragraph will not be rendered in the DOM. So this is like pretty useful. You're going to want to use this a lot. Of course, you also have velse and if else. You guys can look that up in the docs. They're very useful. And we got some other ones. v4, kind of similar to how you'd write a for loop in JavaScript, but you can just do like variable name of object, and then it will just, or of array, and it will just like go through all that. So you don't have to do the whole let I equal 0, blah blah blah. Okay, we got von. This one's all to do with events. So on click, on hover, you can also define your own events, which is like super useful for getting data out of a child component. So like props, you can pass data in, but how do you get it back? Events are how you do that basically. So I might show you some of that. And then vshow is an alternate to vif. The problem with vif is that it completely removes the element from the DOM. So let's see. There is some funky stuff that can happen if you do that. I can't quite think of what, but I'm sure you'll run into it. If you have funky stuff with vif, try vshow. Essentially, it will just hide the element. So it can be good for like maintaining your element structure, like not having stuff shift around. Yeah, it'll just be hidden instead of deleted. And then we've seen vbind as well. This one can be shortened. Instead of writing v-bind : href, you can just write : href. So if you see that, that's what that is. It's just a shorthand for vbind. Okay. So, yep. There's a lot to Vue, and I think a lot of the difficulty comes from knowing how to do things. There's kind of a Vue-y way that you'll be implementing, and it might not be obvious. If you run into some like really tricky issues, potentially you might have to take a step back and think about like what you're doing, whether it's actually the right way to do things. But of course, we are there to help you through that. So definitely ask me or one of the other mentors. We'll be sharing the slides so you can look at some of these. Yep, the Vue.js docs are super helpful. I'm gonna give you a brief little rundown because I think it's only been about 20 minutes. So I'm gonna give you a brief rundown of what a Vue project actually looks like. This one is super basic. This is your like typical starter hello world. But it is useful to look at because it has kind of the most pure form of like Vue without all of the implementation details and crazy stuff. So this is kind of what the basic app looks like. You've got your npm installation. So the reason we need this is we are using Vue as an npm package. You can ignore a lot of this. A lot of that. But the main thing is you're looking for what scripts you can run. Have you guys all, has anyone not run like an npm package before? Okay. Essentially, I'll just give a super basic rundown. Essentially, like, you can define commands to run with these. So, for example, this is our this is the way that we're going to be doing development on this specific file. If you bring up your terminal, you can use npm run serve. I forgot my npm's broken. Let's try switching this to a different package manager. I really need to fix that. npm is lovely until it's not, and then it's really hard to fix. Okay, so apart from that, this is all like just following the Vue tutorial. So if you want to set up your own project, which I highly recommend, just head over to here, and then just click on this install. And they have a pretty nice CLI. So this will like run you through all the stuff that you want. Worth noting. Okay, this is going to trip someone up. Vue has released a new version, Vue 3. The difference is quite large. So we're going to be using Vue 2. See if that works. Yep. Okay. So in Vue 3, they've kind of headed towards more of a React way of doing things. Less like, it imposes less on you, but it's also harder to learn and like doesn't kind of lets you do everything you want, which is not always a good thing. So yeah, this is kind of installation. Let's see if it's finished. Okay, it has finished. Yarn serve. So all I did for this was pretty much go, I think I used the CLI. Here we go, CLI. Okay. That's not helpful. Okay, anyway, this is working. So this is essentially what our project looks like. We just have a bunch of components being added. So let's take a look at what that looks like in Vue. Okay, first up, things you can ignore. You can ignore the main.js. This is just latching onto your HTML file and then rendering a Vue app to that. You can also ignore this HTML file. You'll pretty much never be writing stuff in there unless it's some like setup thing. But the important thing to note is this div has an ID of app. This is a query selector, so this hash is for ID and then app is there. So it's mounting a Vue instance on the app element. Okay, and then we're also importing this app from app.vue, and we're saying this is the component we want to render. The app is pretty basic. Starting with the template, we have a button, which is the one you saw. We also have the count for the button, which is somewhere. I think it's hidden, but anyway. And then we have a component. This is a custom component. So we showed you how to define a component, but we didn't show you how to use a component. The three things you need to use a component: you need to import that component inside the script. Then you need to define that component in the components object, and now it's ready to use. So now we can treat it like a normal HTML element. You can see here we've got our super basic for loop. So this is our variable that we're going to be defining. In count is a number in this case. And then this is a custom prop that we set up. So as you'll see in a second, we've set up a property called number, and it takes a number. It's also got this. If we didn't have this, it would be passing in a string called I. But we've got this v-on number. Oh, sorry, v-bind, yeah. v-bind number, and that shorthand allows us to pass in a variable. This one is a little bit interesting. Key. So this is actually I believe it's a pretty standard. I'm not sure if it's specific to Vue or not, but this is essentially the way that Vue tells apart its components when they're in a for loop. So if you just go and render a whole bunch of identical components, and then you want to change one of them, Vue's not really going to know which one to change. It's hard to keep track. It will try, but sometimes we'll get it wrong. So all we're doing here is giving it a unique piece of data that it can latch onto to know which one to change. Okay, now components. This is kind of what you saw before. We got our HTML, we got our script, and we got our style. Export default, we've got a piece of data here. This one isn't changing, but we could change it if we wanted to. We've got props and a number. This is even more explicit. Like we could just write props is number. That would work. We could even write props number equals number. That would also work. But we're doing something else. We're doing type equals number. And then there's some other stuff like there's a whole bunch of properties we could tell this prop to be. And we're also going to do required true. So this is like super. We need this piece of data to be able to actually use this component. Sometimes you can have optional stuff as well. So number is going up here inside the box. Background color is going over here inside our style. So we're doing an inline style here. We're interpolating this string to give us a background color of whatever we want. And then we're also doing this. This is pretty interesting. So this is the V on thing I was telling you about. So we're saying listen for a click event coming off of this this element. If that happens, you're going to call this. So in that case, it's a method. This is Vue's way of defining functions. That's pretty much all you need to know. Like, if you want to put a bunch of logic and you can return stuff, you can call methods from other methods. You know, if you do something like this, you could go this.handle color change. If it returns something, you could grab it the same way you would normally. This is a good example because we do actually change the background color. So if we click a box, the background color of that box should change to blue. Let's see if that happens. Wow, look at that. Okay. And some other stuff happens. Okay, I think I did something to the number. Let's try and undo that for a second. Looks the same. Oh well. Alright. That's good. They're back again. Yikes. Okay. You know, everything else is pretty standard webby stuff. So I guess that brings us to questions. Anybody got a burning question? Karam, I see that face. You have a question. Oh, well, you just, yeah. Just breathing in, alright. Okay. I might do a quick little... I might show you how to do some event passing. Okay. So, we're going to stick with our example of clicking on boxes. We are going to have for whatever reason, we want a number of boxes that have been clicked. Let's say it's... I'm not sure. I'm still not sure why that's not rendering. Maybe it's... no, I don't know. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. Instead, we're going to make this this count be like boxes clicked. Okay, we are going to have a new piece of data called boxes clicked, and it's going to be a number. Now we want to listen, like, okay, it actually would be trivially easy to just go like at click equals boxes clicked plus. Like, that would actually work, and I'm kind of disappointed that would work because it kind of ruins my example. Where are my numbers, please? Oh, come on, babe. Why? It's white? Why is it white? That's weird. Oh, I get it. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is a really cool example because in here we're setting a style. We're setting the color of all paragraphs to be essentially white. That's really annoying because I didn't want that to happen in the parent, which is the reason we have this thing called scoped. So, you'll notice... Okay. Yeah, no? Scoped? Scoped. Sounds scoped. No. Live demos, please. Okay. We're gonna ignore that one. So what should happen is our paragraph. Oh, I know what's happening. Okay, so wait, this one has class box, and we're targeting class box. Style scoped. Okie dokie. Should work, but it doesn't. Alright, well, I'll leave it there. I'll just, oh. Okay, I just need to reload. Thank God. So I was right. It is scoped. That's all good. Now we have a white paragraph on the box, and everything else is just standard default styling. Okay, cool. Back to what I was saying. At click boxes clicked plus plus. If we click a box, at click boxes clicked plus plus. There is sometimes some confusion with components. Because you can define custom properties or custom events on components, you could, make an event that was like, listen for the event hello, and then it would do that. So what you have to do with custom components, view component, this is some good Googling here. Listen for click. So I think it's like .native or something like that. Okay. I'm just gonna try it. Please work, please. Okay, reload. Add box. Oh my gosh, thank you. Yeah. So that's pretty easy because we are like we have this box, and we only really care about the clicks on the box. We don't care about clicks like in the box. Say what if we had two boxes and we only cared about the middle one? That would be kind of hard. So let's do like a pretend button or something. Actually, no, let's do an actual button. Cool. So we have a button here, and we want to get the clicks off of that instead of the clicks on the entire box. So now it's a little bit harder. We're still going to listen to the click event, but this time we have to actually pass some data back up to the parent and get it to update itself. So, we can't, like in React, what you might do is go, maybe, actually, I don't know React a whole lot, but you might pass the variable or even like a function that updates the variable down into the component. And then you would be able to update that in the child. Vue doesn't let you do that because sometimes things can get hairy when you're updating a parent's data in the child. Like stuff is changing and you don't know where and you don't know why. It's a lot easier to have like a data flow going down into the components, and the components don't really know what's happening above them. They're just kind of doing their thing. They're taking data in. They're rendering stuff like they should. But it is a possibility that you need data to go back up the component tree as well. So we're gonna do like an @click. We got some special objects here. Hopefully I can remember this. So we got $event. This is a view keyword, you also got some stuff like $route and $whatever, but you'll find that when you run into it. And then we can do just a random event name. And you could even pass some data here if you wanted to. I don't know, maybe like background color. Could be fun. Okay, so now every time this is clicked, we're going to get an event emitted called hello with the background color for whatever reason. Up here, we're going to be listening to it on the box event. So we can do @hello equals, and then this is going to be handling our change. So you could just write the thing, all of your logic in the attribute. That's fine, but like for us, we also want to do something with the background color. So yeah, we're going to be wanting to actually make a method here. Okay, so for us, we're just going to go like handle box click. First thing we want to do, this box is clicked. Make sure you use the this word when you're working in JavaScript. If you're working in the template, you don't have to, because magic. And then we want to do something with the data. Now the data is not coming out of nowhere. It's being passed into this method, so we need a argument. Okay, so we're gonna do color, and then we're gonna say like, I don't know. For our really basic example, we're just gonna go color. Console log, cool. Right. Now, what are the odds that it works? We add a box. Okay. Click the thing, doesn't change. But now we click this, also doesn't change. Nice. Let's check the console. Okay, looks like I got my shit mixed up. And we're gonna do, I think it's event $emit. Let's try that first before I actually Google anything. All right. Event is undefined. Nice. Let's do view emit event. And we wanted custom events. Oh wait, here we go. Oh! It doesn't have event at all. I've been working too much in Angular. Okay. This should work. Fingers crossed. Nice. Okay. Where's my console log? It's lost to the void. I think that should work. I'm not going to debug it though, because it's not super important. It's probably something silly that I've done.
Calling the function. I mean, you're calling.
You are so right. Thank you. Yep. I haven't called the function yet. Okay. You can either do that or this. This is useful if you are passing in this. I think that is what I was thinking of. And this is slightly different. Like, for us, I think this should just be our color. But for example, if you had a click event, this would be like all the stuff like where you clicked and how big the element you clicked on is, and like a whole bunch of stuff. So that can be useful if you're doing like games in Vue. Would not recommend it, but you can try. Yeah, cool. All right. That works pretty good. Well, I think that's our time. Thank you very much. Yeah. Cheers. Yeah, feel free to ask questions. I'll be around. I'm not sure what's happening next, but I'm sure someone will be coming in and telling you in a second.
Thank you very much. So now we'll probably be doing another stand-up before we get lunch. So we'll just be coming in and we'll be doing another stand-up like what we did on Wednesday. But in person, so each week we'll have 2 stand-ups. So we're going to see how you guys catch up.
Always crash. If it's not, yeah, me and Jack. So this one is like it's not to make things easy, but it just makes it even harder. Yeah, you hear that? Yeah.
Alright, I have bad news to everyone sitting along this line. You will be crushed between the 2 tables. The tectonic table moving is coming in. No, we're doing it. Big table. Alright. Sorry, man.
Thanks, man.
Now it's comprehensive. I completely forgot how to use Vue.
And now...
Yeah, can I only show the one that you sent? Sorry. That just makes for the